So if you didn't know, there's a bit of a trivia bit about how the Straw Hat crew have a unique family dynamic. As it once stood, Frankie was the father, Brooke was the grandfather, and Robin was the mother. However, things have changed a bit where now Frankie is oddly the grandmother and Jinbei is the father. I think this will change back just because there's too much evidence to prove that Frankie is more fatherly amongst the crew as opposed to Jinbei, just given how he has a bit of a disciple father-son relationship with Usopp. But I digress. So I said in a video recently that there are a lot of parallels between Brooke and Frankie. I've always been under the impression that Brooke would probably be Frankie's father. And with that being said, with Robin being the mother, I think if Stussy were to join the crew, Stussy would be the grandmother, being Robin's mother. Because if she did join the crew, she would be the oldest female member on the crew, as Robin is 30 and Stussy, is 36. Now, that's a bit of a conundrum because we don't know how old she is exactly in being 36. She could simply be 36 flat out, as she was born 36 years ago. But seeing as how she is a clone, we don't know if she was born as a 36-year-old woman or she was born as a child and then grew into a 36-year-old woman. I take more so the former rather than the latter. I think she was born as a 36-year-old woman because there is evidence to say that the Vegapunks that are satellites were born in their current ages. For example, Lilith is 24, but is actually 2 years old. With that being said, Stussy could most likely be 72 years old, technically, as she is biologically 36 and has been around for at least 36 years. So yeah, she would be the oldest female on the Straw Hat crew if she were to join. But with that being said, the reason why I say this is because, much like with Frankie and Brooke, there are a lot of interesting parallels between Robin and Stussy. For one thing, both of them have worked for criminal organizations and organizations that aren't criminal but are very covert. So Robin worked for Baroque Works. Baroque Works is a bit of a two-faced organization because even though on the surface they are a mercenary group, under the surface they are a vast criminal network. And she was one of the highest ranking members in said criminal network, being only under the leader, Mr. Zero, otherwise known as Crocodile. With that being said, Stussy is very similar, as she is a secret agent, a very high ranking secret agent in Cypherpole Asia Zero, being one of their masked members. Also, she is a high-ranking member in the underworld, being the queen of the Pleasure District. We don't know exactly what the Pleasure District is exactly, but it's very interesting that she, one, is a high-ranking member in a criminal organization, presumably, and two, she's a high-ranking member in a covert government-ran organization. This parallels with Robin because the only difference is that Robin's organization both presented itself as legitimate and under the surface, it was a criminal organization. Whereas Stussy has worked for both a legitimate covert organization and a criminal organization. So with that being said, there's another interesting bit about the two women and how they functioned in these organizations, because when Robin was about to betray Crocodile, she tried to utilize his known weakness against him in trying to pour a vial of water on him to make him solid and therefore vulnerable to her abilities. This did not work, however. Stussy did the same thing, as she can utilize something only known as Sea Stone Prism Lipstick, I guess. I don't know why the Sea Stone Prism Lipstick doesn't affect her, assuming that she is presumably wearing it herself. But she used this against Kaku and Lucy. And seeing as how Kaku and Lucy are Delphi users, they were susceptible to the Sea Stone Prism Lipstick. She bit Kaku, presumably wearing it, weakening him on the spot. And then she stuck this Sea Stone Prism Lipstick into Lucy while biting him as well. So while Robin was unsuccessful in taking out her boss, Stussy was very successful in taking out not one, but two former co-workers. Another interesting thing is that both of their fathers have been presumed dead, or at least their father figures, I should say, because it was presumed that Jaguar de Saul, Robin's father figure, had died by the hands of Kuzan. However, he seems to be alive and well on Elbath. Then Vegapunk was presumed to be dead, and technically he did die, and he is the, I guess, father of Stussy in a weird way. But even though he is dead, kind of, Punk Records is safe and sound. Vegapunk, Atlas, Edison, Shaka, and Pythagoras are all in one weird Franken body, so they are still alive as remnants of Vegapunk. And of course, Vegapunk, Lilith, and York are still alive. So while the body of her father is dead, not really. He's not really dead, as his brain is still alive, and remnants of him that he has personified are too still alive. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, it's the same as Saul. Not only that, we do know that Vegapunk has met Saul and was present during the sort of rescue operation that Saul conducted when he sent the New Giant Warrior pirates to retrieve all of the books out of the basin left in the wake of Ohara's destruction. So we know that as well, and that's pretty cool. But with that being said, yeah, I think if Robin were to have a mother on the crew, Stussy would be that. So yeah, Stussy would be the grandmother. And I think that would be pretty cool to see in the future. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Paula Pete. What?